Good evening, dear listener. If you enjoy quiet, intimate history like this, you can also find us on Spotify or explore hundreds of history audiobooks through Audible, both linked in the description below. Tonight, we return to a world where survival is measured in heartbeats, where love becomes a weapon, and where a mother's refusal to surrender bends the arc of fate itself. You are still Margarite, still 32 years old, still a mother, still fighting. But something has shifted in the air around your village, something you cannot name, but can feel in your bones as surely as you once felt the first frost warning of winter's approach. The sickness that has claimed so many, that turned neighbors into strangers and children into ghosts, seems to have loosened its grip. Not entirely, not everywhere, but here, in this single room with its dirt floor and failing thatch, your children are breathing. Really breathing. Not the shallow, desperate gasps that haunted your nights for so long, not the rattling struggle that told you each inhalation might be their last, but real, steady, life-sustaining breaths that rise and fall with the rhythm of bodies finally allowed to rest. Agnes opens her eyes before the sun has fully painted the sky. 3 years old, and already she has survived what strong men could not. Her first word of the day is not water or mother, but hungry. The sound of it, that ordinary, mundane, miraculous word, hits you like a physical blow. You have to turn away, pretending to tend the fire, because you cannot let her see the tears that threaten to undo you completely. Thomas stirs beside his sister. His 7-year-old body, which had seemed so fragile just days ago, now moves with purpose as he sits up and looks around the room with eyes that actually see. He reaches for his wooden horse, that precious relic of a father who will never return, and holds it against his chest with the quiet intensity of a child who has learned far too young what it means to lose something irreplaceable. Marie is already awake. Of course she is. Your eldest has not truly slept since this nightmare began, merely rested in brief intervals between moments of vigilance. But today, when she meets your gaze across the room, there is something different in her 10-year-old eyes, something that looks almost like hope. The water bucket is nearly empty, she says quietly. Not an accusation, not a demand, simply an observation, offered as one soldier to another on a battlefield that may finally be shifting in your favor. You nod. The stream still calls, the forest still waits, but today the journey feels less like a death march and more like what it actually is, a necessary task performed by a mother for children who will be waiting when she returns. The village has changed while you were occupied with survival. This is the thought that strikes you as you walk the familiar path toward the forest's edge. The bodies that lined the streets just days ago have begun to disappear. Not all of them, not completely, but enough to notice. Some have been buried by the few who retained strength for such labors. Others have been claimed by creatures who do not distinguish between the living and the dead when hunger drives them. The result is a landscape that feels less like an open grave and more like a place where life might eventually resume its ordinary rhythms. Father Benedict passes you on the path. His face, once so haggard with grief and exhaustion, now carries the faintest trace of something that might be peace. He has administered last rites to more souls than any priest should ever have to, has watched children die and parents follow them into darkness, has stood at the boundary between this world and the next so many times that the line must have blurred beyond recognition. Yet here he stands, still walking, still blessing, still believing. The children? He asks, and the question carries weight far beyond its simple words. Improving, you tell him, eating, speaking. Thomas asked about his horse today. The priest's eyes close briefly. When they open again, they glisten with moisture that might be prayer or might be simple human relief. God is good, he murmurs, and for once, the words do not sound like empty ritual. You leave him to continue his rounds and press on toward the forest, your wooden club swinging at your side, more from habit than genuine fear. The predators, both human and animal, seem to have retreated as the sickness has begun to ebb. Perhaps they sense, as you do, that the balance is shifting. Perhaps desperation itself has grown weary and sought rest elsewhere. The forest greets you with sounds that have returned to normalcy. Birds call to each other in the canopy, small creatures rustle through undergrowth, wind moves through branches with a whisper that speaks of seasons turning rather than dangers lurking. Even the stream, when you reach it, seems to flow with a music that had been silenced during the worst days, or perhaps you simply could not hear it through the static of your own terror. You fill your bucket slowly, deliberately, allowing yourself the luxury of moments that are not consumed by frantic urgency. The water is cold and clear and tastes of nothing but itself. When you lift it, the weight feels familiar rather than crushing. On the return journey, you encounter Margaret. She stands at the edge of the village where the path meets the first scattered houses, her silhouette as familiar to you now as your own reflection. But something has changed in her posture, in the way she holds herself against the morning light. The hollow emptiness that has marked her since she buried her last child seems to have filled, at least partially, with something else, something that looks almost like purpose. "I've been helping Father Benedict," she says before you can speak, "with the burials, with the children who have no one left." You set down your bucket and take her hands in yours. They are cold, but they grip back with strength you had not expected. "There's a girl," Margaret continues, her voice steady despite the words, "about Marie's age, both her parents gone now. She's been sleeping in the church, surviving on whatever she can find. I thought perhaps she could stay with me." The offer hangs in the air between you. Margaret, who has lost everything, opening her home to a child she does not know. Margaret, who could have surrendered to grief, choosing instead to rebuild. "She'll need someone who understands," you say quietly. "Someone who knows what it means to lose everything and keep going." Margaret's eyes meet yours. For a long moment, neither of you speak. Then she squeezes your hands once, briefly, and releases them. "The stream is still clean?" she asks. "Still clean." "Good." She nods once, a soldier's acknowledgement. "I'll bring the girl tomorrow. She'll need water, too." You watch her walk away toward the church, and something in your chest loosens that has been tight for so long you forgot it was possible to feel otherwise. The village is not just surviving, it is remembering how to be a village.